I'm inside my room at Bremen, still and gloomy Sunday afternoon, birds chirping and squirrels climbing up the tree as I see through the window of my room. I thought, let me listen to myself on audio recorder, let me talk about something. And now I have decided to broadcast it. I'll try to upload something or the other every other week. But if you ask me honestly, I don't know what actually I'll be talking about in coming days. I don't know where this will lead me, but I thought let me just embark on a journey that doesn't have a destination. In this series of podcasts, I intend to get lost inside the woods, dive into the sea, wander around the streets, wander around my own thoughts. The uncertainty of this journey actually made me name this podcast The Lost Mind. Let the journey begin. Hello listeners, I'm Drishan Dahal, currently pursuing Masters in Biochemistry and Molecular Biology at University of Bremen. Apart from my science love, I also have secret affair with arts and humanities. Though I like to call myself an outsider who occasionally like to wander around these topics, maybe that is why I'm not someone who could go on for hours talking about them. And that is to, using heavy jargons. But as they say, if you will, you have a way. To begin with, today I have come with a story that I wrote 5 years ago. If you ask me the background of the story, we will have to go back to 2015 when ISS militant group had captured a Jordanian pilot. I don't know if you remember the incident. This whole incident was internationally covered by the media then. As it happened, he was brutally murdered by the group. He was burned alive while trapped inside a cage. This heinous murder prompted me to write this story. And I'd like to make it clear, as I recite this story, I do not intend to hurt any religious sentiments. Abraham was standing in the center inside the enormous steel cage. Masood was holding a long iron rod on his hand. He gently wrapped the sharp tip of the rod with the long white cloth. The cloth had golden embroidery that shone sporadically as the setting sunlight fell on it. Masood glanced at the sparkling words on the embroidery that wrote jihad. His hands were shivering. He could feel hot air gushing out of his ears. "Avil Basare, Masood!" demanded a hoarse voice from the background. He demanded him to do it fast. He lifted his sweaty left hand and dipped the upper part of the rod into a bucket of petrol. "Allahu Akbar!" screamed Masood, facing towards the setting sun, and lifted the iron rod with both of his hands above his head. He took a quick and hard, deep breath and closed his eyes. The stream of sweat was flowing down his fist. He knelt down and blazed the petrol spilled on the ground, trailing towards the cage. After a while of burning, a big explosion of Abraham's head was heard. The echo of the explosion persisted around the desolate land for more than 5 seconds. Masood looked towards the sky and apologized to Allah. Late at night that day, he was alone inside the tent. His tent mates had gone to Jalimabad, East Iraq, with a mission to raise down a battalion of American army. After having half a plate rice with 2 scanty lumps of chicken's meat, he had fallen down on the shabby rucksack spread on the muddy earth. Masoor repented. And the third one is down. I cannot murder the innocents anymore. How can I kill a human as if it's an inanimate object? I don't want this all, and to flee away from here. This is not what Allah wants. What happened? Masoor Jan, a likely 14-year-old boy, entered inside the tent. Come and sit here, Nazir, directed Masoor. Masoor looked at the blue eyes of the puny little boy. Ruffling Nazir's dry and knotted hair, Masoor said, Boy, how do you feel being here? Don't you miss your Mizan, sister, your home, your friends and everything in Swatantrata Bagh? The boy thought for a second and spoke in a humble tone. Janab, this is all what Allah wants for me to do. Lifting the tone of his voice a little, he added, I got a message from Allah yesterday. I had just closed my eyes after dinner. I was thinking about Amizan and suddenly Prophet whispered in my right ear. He told me, I'm a good boy and I'm serving Allah very well. Masoor was numbed. He gently drifted his hands towards Nazir, gathered Nazir's both palms and kept them between his palms. He stared at the naive eyes of Nazir and at those raw cheeks. Rubbing his rough palms with Nazir's soft palm, he asked, Ladke, how do you know that is Muhammad himself? Nazir stretched his chest and looked towards the Jannat and proudly declared, because he said so. A word that I would like to translate from this story is manipulation. To be precise, psychological manipulation. I feel we are being manipulated by political stories, historical stories, nationalistic stories, or religious stories every day, because of which the feelings of xenophobia, hatred, and disregards towards other sentiments is growing in humankind. All these stories force us to think only in the respective directed ways, and in no time we become a fish of a pond who doesn't know also ocean exists somewhere. This state of ignorance I call as being stone, or in Sanskrit Shila. The great Nepali poet once wrote a poem titled Shila, and here I have made an attempt to recite a small part of this poem. Also, I have tried to formulate a poetic translation of the poem for those who don't understand Nepali. I fully understand that attempt to emulate the greatness of Laxmi Prasad Devkota is futile, so I hope you won't hate me for this. कविताको शीर्षक छ शीला, लक्ष्मी प्रसाद देवकोटाद्वारा लिखित। सुख दुख शोक र ताप तलाई दिन्नन् केही असर, कलिलो मासु झिरल्ने छैनन् रोग र मृत्यु र डर। मस्त मगन र बेपरवाही अन्धो तेरो जीवन, जगको घोर बिलौना सहने दहने मानव मन। के तलाई आउँछ कहिल्यै प्रश्न विशाल जगतको, जीवनका यी घोर समस्या कष्ट अकेला पथको। विशालको यो भीषण आकृति दिन्छ तलाई त्रास, के कहिल्यै जगको यो स्थिति कपाउँछ तेरो आस। अघि पछिको दृष्टि सताउँछ कि तेरो जीवन, मौन नकापी शान्त दबस्छस् चक्कर मार्दछ दिन। Now I'd like to recite the translation of the poem in English. Happiness, grief, mourning and heats, untouchable by any of these. No fresh flesh to be pierced, what is disease and what is death and what is fear. Indifferent, apathetic and nonchalance, blind is your life, while endures the enormous sadness of life, the humankind. Does it ever strike you, the questions of universe, the extreme problems of life and the difficulties of lone nights? The enormousness of this extreme structure scares your heart? Does the state of earth trembles your hope? The lights of past and future troubles your life? Numb, still, silent you live, while light shines and dims. Again, one word I would translate from this poem is ability to question. A stone is an inanimate object, right? It doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have a brain that can think. that means it cannot question. We as a conscious living beings, if we cannot question the things that is being taught to us, if we don't question the political, social and religious construct, we are no less than a stone. The quest of life begins with asking questions. Let us not be manipulated by the present and the past. Let's ask why things exist. Let's ask why something happens in a given way. Let's not be Shila. Thank you.